Well, here in Germany, the number of new daily coronavirus infections has reached its highest level since the pandemic began. The Public Health Authority says the 7-day average has climbed past 200 cases per 100,000 residents. With the vaccination rate stagnating at around 70%, more and more states are adopting tougher restrictions for unvaccinated residents. I'm now joined by our political correspondent, Nina Hase, for more on this. Nina, rising numbers of daily COVID infections beating previous records, but is this less worrying now because so many people are vaccinated?
No, it's not. What's happening now is what many across the board are calling the pandemic of the unvaccinated. There are many people here in Germany who simply do not want to get vaccinated. They have access but are refusing to get vaccinated, and that's leading to many experts warning again of the healthcare system being overwhelmed, and the number of intensive care unit beds that are available has simultaneously shrunk because people have been dropping out of those jobs in the hospitals in the course of the last 2 years. So no, it's not less worrying.
So who's going to deal with this situation on a political level right now? It's a bit tricky, isn't it? We have an outgoing government and 3 parties negotiating to form a new coalition. So who's in charge?
Well, here in Germany, health issues are generally dealt with at regional level, so there is somebody in charge. But, of course, the federal government does set some cornerstones. And, yes, there is a vacuum at the moment, that is true, which has led to an unusual move by the parties that are involved in forming that next government. They will present a draft law to Parliament today, which might come into force even before the next government is actually properly formed, so by the end of this month. And there we will probably see free corona tests being reintroduced. And also we're probably going to see mandatory tests being introduced when you go visit vulnerable people in care homes, etc.
So there are still 30% unvaccinated in Germany. In that law, will there be any kind of move towards mandatory vaccinations?
Well, most experts are ruling out general mandatory vaccinations, but what is being debated is mandatory COVID jabs for people working in certain professions, like those who look after the elderly. And the problem there that we have is that there is a lack of staff in the healthcare sector as it is. So that is a big gamble for politicians because, of course, they can't put those people under pressure much because they'll say, well, then I won't come to work. And those people are not easily found.
So what about more restrictions for the unvaccinated that are not in those jobs compared to the vaccinated? Are we likely to see that coming into effect?
We're not going to see that come into effect nationwide, I don't think, but some regions are already implementing those restrictions. That's called 2G here, so you have to be either vaccinated or have had COVID in the past to be able to access closed rooms like restaurants, etc. And the idea here, of course, is to avoid a collapse of the health system and to avoid having to go into full-blown shutdown where schools and businesses would have to close, etc. And the hope is that with those restrictions, you can persuade more people to actually get that jab this way.
Our political correspondent, Nina Hase, there reporting. Thank you, Nina. In Germany, children under 12 aren't yet eligible for coronavirus vaccination, so for months they've had to wear masks in school. Now, some German states have done away with mandatory masks for primary schools, but with infection rates on the rise, not everyone is happy about that move.
This is Leopold. He's 8 years old and in 3rd grade at a Berlin school. He long ago got used to COVID tests twice a week. Mask rules are also just part of daily life at school. All students have to wear them in class. But now, that's changing. Now we don't have to wear masks. But I do anyway. The chance of getting sick is so unbelievably high. This is Corinna Alexandra Rader, Leopold's mother. She's also a parent representative at the school. Though Leopold and his classmates are too young to be vaccinated, children this age rarely experience severe cases of COVID. Still, she's for the mask mandate.
Doctors can't guarantee that my child won't get it, and parents aren't interested in how many kids come down with severe cases. They're interested in their own kids.
Christoph Zoll is the head of Leopold's school. Teaching a masked classroom still feels strange. It's harder to recognize faces and to understand what kids say. But many teachers are upset that the mask mandate is gone. There are some who are quite happy about it, and they've made no secret of that. But most teachers think it's more important to protect health. The question of seeing their students' faces is less important to them. This is pediatrician Jakub Maske. His practice sees plenty of patients now that cold season is in full swing. He doesn't get many COVID-19 cases, however. He says it's high time for children to go to school without masks. We can't just worry about viruses. We also have to think about children's rights. We can't let adults go to restaurants to have a good time, while the kids have to get tested 2 or 3 times a week and wear masks. It's an injustice. Young children aren't eligible to be vaccinated, while many adults who are eligible haven't gotten the shot, leading to a 4th wave of infections in Germany. Leopold finally gets his coronavirus test result, negative. That's a good thing in itself, but he too longs for an end to the pandemic. If I could wish for one thing, it would be that corona is over.
Let's take a look now at some of the other developments in the pandemic. Austria has introduced tough new COVID-19 restrictions. Only vaccinated people and those who have recovered are allowed to eat in restaurants, stay in hotels or use ski lifts. Most of Russia has emerged from a week-long paid holiday designed to slow the spread of coronavirus, even though there are thousands of new cases a day. And Singapore and Malaysia are to allow quarantine-free travel between the two countries for vaccinated people beginning on November 29th.